Diaries of a Madman. Written by What Must I Do? Chapter 4. Nightmare Night, Part 4. Yep, we just gotta get you both seated and set up a timer. Shouldn't take but a second. Cupcake, you got a stopwatch? Of course, dear, she answered, walking over where she had been messing with the pies. Who's come? Oh, Princess, I wasn't expecting you to stop by. I quite enjoy pie, Luna replied. And I believe this is something at which I may be able to beat Navarone. Oh, definitely, Mrs. Cake answered. The poor colt needs some more meat on his bones, but he just won't let us feed him much. There's nothing wrong with being that skinny, Mr. Cake told her. But they're both competing, so do you mind setting them up? Of course. Right away, dears. The fat-bottomed girl led us to a picnic table set up for the ponies, which was just a picnic table that was exactly the same as a human one. I don't know why. Just have a seat and I'll bring some pies over. Luna and I sat next to each other, her hair hitting against my shoulder because of the wind it seemed to be in. She set her bunny next to her. You'll probably win, I said, pulling the skull off my head once again and setting it next to me. I'm not much one for eating contests. Then it is a hardly fair win, but I shall take it anyway. Mrs. Cake started putting pies down in front of us. What kind of pies are these? I asked her as she went to get some more. Pumpkin, she replied. We thought it fit for the season. Second best kind of pie, I said, smiling in delight. Only behind cheesecake. Cheese... cake, Luna asked. Wouldn't that be a cake and not a pie? You'd certainly think so, I said with a shrug. But I always consider it a pie since it has pie crust. Anyway, Mrs. Cake, you got a knife I can use? My face isn't exactly suited for plunging into pies. Cutting it would make things easier. She brought over a simple butter knife with the next batch of pies. It was plenty enough for me, so I just nodded, taking the thing in hand. That is hardly fair, Luna commented. In reply, Mrs. Cake set one in front of her as well. Now, are you two ready? She asked, lifting a stopwatch. Yep, I said with a nod. Ready, Luna answered. Begin. The watch beeped and both Luna and I snatched up the first pie. She just shoved her face in it while I cut it into slices and started eating it that way. I was in the contest for free pie, not for a win. However, I could definitely tell that Luna was in that one to win. She shoved down so many fucking pies it wasn't even funny. In the end, she got down upwards of 13 of the damn things. I ate 2.5. It is nice to know that we won, she sighed happily, leaning back and rubbing her belly. You say that now. We'll see how you feel in a few minutes when you realize that you just ate 13 fucking pies. Your stomach's gonna hurt like a bitch. It was worth it. Although, I am unaware of how a dog hurts. 13 pies? Cupcake asked, her eyebrows lifting. You must have been quite hungry. She gave the 2.5 empty tins in front of me a cursory glance before rolling her eyes. They were most delicious, Luna said, struggling to pull away her newly fat ass out of the bench. And to be fair, I had trouble extricating myself as well, but that's just because I was in robes. I'm happy you like them, Princess, she answered, the dollar signs practically appearing in her eyes. 13 full pies is definitely a new record, so we'll have to think of some new prize. The thought is appreciated, Luna answered. Now, I believe Navarone and I need to walk off that extra weight. Speak for yourself, I said as I put the skull back on. But I suppose I can grant you some company. I'm a nice guy, after all. So gracious, she sarcastically replied, putting the bunny to her back. Come then, there must be an activity we can find while this pie settles. Back into the night we began walking, looking around for some new trouble to get into. Surprisingly enough, the trouble actually found us instead of the other way around. Ah, Princess, Rarity said, hopping off to a stage near us. We were just looking for you. What is it you need, Generosity? Luna asked. There's a costume contest going on right now, and the other organizers want to ask if you would help us judge. I'm sure the contestants would absolutely adore having the princess judge them. Luna looked from Rarity to me for what I assumed was advice. I shrugged and said, Go for it. Hey, Rarity, who all can be a contestant? Oh, any pony, she answered. There's a separate category for adults and foes, though. I will judge, Luna answered with a nod. But only if Navarone competes. Of course. Wait, Navarone, what are you supposed to be anyway? It's the human personification of death itself. That's interesting. Why anthropomorphize it as another one of your kind instead of making it something completely different? Because we killed all the monsters we ever ran into, to save for ourselves in death. What better way to respect death than to give it a form the only monster we could never kill? Now, where are we supposed to go? Navarone, you and your kind scare me, Verity said, shaking her head. But just follow me. She began walking around the stage. So, Princess, what brings you to Ponyville? I am here for the festival, Luna answered. Navarone, your kind are monster hunters? That depends entirely upon what you consider monsters. Such a ghastly topic, Verity said, shivering. Surely not suitable for something to discuss in front of a princess. I just shrugged. So, this festival, Princess. There are many others that tend to be more enjoyable. We prefer the night, Luna answered. And the cool air, of course. There are other festivals, but not many that occur at night. That is understandable. But you should really make an attempt to come next year's summer wrap-up festival. There will be considerably more ponies here, and many more contestants take part in. I'm sure you'd love it. I will consider it, Luna tactfully answered. Thankfully, finally getting up on the stairs saved us from going through more of Rarity's torture. She said yes, every pony, Rarity merrily called out, getting the attention of everyone on stage. Unfortunately, the little colt I'd been fucking with wasn't here. Although, honestly, that probably wasn't a bad thing. The poor bastard is probably already going through enough nightmares. Wonderful news, a stallion that I didn't recognize said. It's good to have you judging with us, Princess. From that, I assumed he was Rarity's other judge. Anything to assist, Luna awkwardly answered, not sure what else to say. The rules are fairly simple, Rarity said. There are a few categories, cute, realistic, and scary. Each contestant will say a few words and then step aside for the next one. At the end, we judge every pony and decide on a winner. Very well, Luna said, nodding. 'Tis a simple-sounding task. Good. Navarone, go stand with the other contestants. We'll be starting shortly. All right. I'll see you in a few minutes, Luna. I didn't even realize I forgot to say princess until I was already walking away. Nothing was made of it, though, so I assume no one else noticed either. Anyway, I walked around the large gathering of ponies that were chattering amongst themselves, each in costume. I was rather out of place in that group, but it wasn't long before Pinkie Pie approached me, smiling widely. Nav, you did dress up! Did you expect me not to? I asked, rolling my shoulders. Well, I kinda expect you to avoid every pony all night, actually, but I'm so happy you didn't! Like scaring kids. That's a lot of fun. Silly Nav, there aren't any goats in Ponyville. What are you dressed up as anyway? Humanity's personification of death. Neat! Is that why your face is a skull? I have no clue how she was able to see into the cowl I was wearing, but I suppose the area was lit up enough that it was possible. Yeah. Ah, I liked it the way it was before, when it was all mushy and soft. It'll go back to normal when I take the mask off. Oh, that's a mask? Can I try it on? She asked, starting to bounce in place. Oh, your face is shaped too strangely. Ah. That killed most of her enthusiasm. A new voice cut through the conversation all around us. Would the first contestant please come forward? And then all of Pinkie's enthusiasm was back. That's me. Wish me luck, Nav. With that, she happily skipped to the front of the stage and began strutting like a chicken. After nearly a minute of making a fool of herself, she elegantly bowed and walked over back to us. Totally nailed it, she said with a smile. If you say so, I replied as the next contestant was called forward, and so the contest went until I was the last one left. Good luck, Pinkie Pie called as I slowly stepped forward, using the scythe as a walking stick. So, what are you? The male judge asked, smiling up at me. Death, I hissed, slowly pulling myself to my full height. And thy time has come, stallion. What? I started slowly walking towards him. Thou hast liveth far too long. I am here to drag thee down to the dark pits of hell where thou belongs. You're a very good act. Who is acting, knave? I angrily said, flinching to a stop. My hair tilted slightly as though confused. Dost thou think thee still be living? Nay, thou art dead. I once more began walking to where the three judges stood. The stallion began backing away. Run not. There is no escaping thy fate. One of my hands lifted to my cowl, slowly pulling it back as I said, Look into my eyes and know only darkness. With the hood fully pulled back, the skull I had was invisible for everyone able to see. The stallion's eyes went extremely wide and he started stammering, his legs shaking. Thy time has come, I slowly announced, drawing closer with each word. Finally I stood before him, glaring down with empty eye sockets. He stood, transfixed as I lifted the scythe up with both hands. Without a word, I brought it straight down, and it stopped right in front of his face, held with a blue aura. That is more than enough, Luna said, pushing him away from the poor guy that could do nothing more than stare at the tip of the scythe. Oh, come on. I wasn't actually going to hit him, I said, smiling behind the mask. Your time is up, is all she said. Ahem, Rarity daintily coughed, getting our attention. That was quite a performance, Navarone, she said. Now please return to the group so we can deliberate. I shrugged and started walking back, settling the hood back over my head as I did. That was really cool, Pinky said when I got back to the group. The others didn't seem to think so, however, as they all edged away from me. I didn't know you could act. I have a lot of skills you ponies don't know about, I replied with a shrug. But really, acting isn't all that hard. You just have to know what you're doing and be careful not to hesitate at the wrong moments. You should teach acting classes then. Some of the unimportant ponies around us muttered at that. Nah, that doesn't really sound that fun. Of course, she kept bothering me about it right up till the judges called for our attention. Every pony, we're ready to announce our winners, Birdie yelled over the talking horses around me. Cutest foal goes to Twist for her candy costume. The little filly in question stepped forward, beaming. Okay, that kid's not at all cute. Her candy cane outfit was amazing, though. Verity placed a medal around the neck of the candy cane and pointed the filly off to the right. The stallion called. The winner for the most realistic foal goes to Snails for his, snail costume. The ugly colt slid forward, leaving a disgusting trail of slime behind him. God, I don't even want to think about what a young teenager would use to make slime. The stallion put a medal around his neck, trying his hardest not to touch the kid. As soon as it was in place, he backed away, pointing Snails to the next stand to Twist. And the winner for the scariest fall is Scootaloo, Luna called out. A beaming Scoot stepped forward, showing off her cute little wolf costume. How was that scary? Come on, guys. Luna put a medal around Scootaloo's proud neck and motioned for her to join the other two. She definitely made sure to stand away from Snails. That's it for falls, Rarity said. Next is the adult category. The winner of the cutest costume is Nurse Redheart. Oh, shoot, Pinky muttered, lightly kicking the stage. The nurse stepped up, showing up her somewhat adorable nurse costume. Man, back on Earth, she would probably be wearing a slutty costume. Well, she's a horse anyway. Not like I'm missing anything. Rarity put the medal around Redheart's neck and pointed her off to the side where the foals weren't standing. She stood there proudly, waiting for the two others to join her. The winner for the most realistic prize is Pinkie Pie, the stallion called out, smiling this time. Yay! Pinkie Pie jumped forward, hugging the judge. He awkwardly patted her on the back before prying her away to give her the medal. She took it and bounced off to join Nurse Redheart. And, of course, the winner of the scariest costume is Navarone, Luna announced, nodding at me. I shrugged and stepped forward, feeling the stares of everyone in the small crowd behind me. It took some slight kneeling for her to be able to easily put the medal around my neck, but she eventually managed. Unfortunately, it ended up with her hooves all over me there for a second, but we both ignored the moment, and I marched on to join the other two. We won! Pinky excitedly whispered as Rarity launched into a speech meant to make the losers feel better about sucking. Sure did. I just as quietly answered, not overly excited. I mean, I entered the damn thing on a whim, not caring if I won or lost. She didn't seem to pick up on the apathy, or if she did, She was too excited to comment on it. I just studied my medal as Rarity continued talking. All it had on it was a carved pumpkin head that was frowning, but it felt like real metal, so I wasn't complaining. It's a better reward than I ever got from a costume contest back home, that's for sure. It didn't take Rarity too long to shut up, thankfully. And that wraps up this year's costume contest, every pony, she finally announced. I hope to see you all next year. The crowd didn't waste too much time dispersing. I barely even saw Pinky as she darted away to find more candy. Only Rarity, Luna, and I stayed on the stage. I walked over to them. It was an honor to have you with us, Rarity said to the princess. And I know it meant a lot to every pony here. It was, a fun contest, Luna answered. Though I believe I would have preferred being a contestant rather than a judge. Oh, you can certainly compete next year, if you'd like. I can even make you a costume. We shall consider it, Luna answered, one of her ears twitching slightly. Navarone, I would like to go and find a more fun. All right, let's see what we can find, I said. Have a good night, Rarity. You too, Nav, she said with a smile. Enjoy your date. It's not a... Luna started dragging me away at that point, using magic to pull me along. Rarity giggled before turning away to go about her own business. Why did Rarity tell you to enjoy your date? Luna asked, releasing me. You do not have any fruit with you. Dates have two meanings these days. The first is the fruit. The second is a romantic outing between a pair that is involved in a way that involves more than friendship. She stopped at her tracks, staring at me. And dost thou consider this a date, Navarone? She very calmly asked. No. That's what I was trying to tell Rarity before you dragged me off. Huh. Very well. Let us continue then, but you will correct Generosity next time you see her. All right, no need to be so defensive, princess. You may call me Luna, Navarone, she said, starting to walk. Cool, I said, falling to step next to her. And of course, you can call me Nav. She smiled, happy that she finally earned the right to use my nickname. Not that I cared either way, of course. Maybe people really were that much more formal in her time. So, what other games are there for us to play? She asked as we walked through the festival. Well, there's pumpkin carving, if anyone is hosting a contest for it. That would be pretty fun. Are there any games in which we may cooperate rather than compete? She asked, watching two fillies run past, yelling in delight about something. I don't know. Scavenger hunt, maybe? Each team gets a list of things to find and they prowl around to look for everything. I don't know if anyone's doing something like that, though. Hell, most of the games we've already played could be done against other groups, if we had anyone to compete against. At the sound of the more intense screams than usual, the two of us looked towards the building that was very decorated for the holiday, covered in all kinds of spooky, scary things, like miniature skeletons. As we watched, a group of mares galloped out, each screaming at the top of their lungs. And what is that? She asked, watching another group going in. If I had to guess, I'd say a haunted house. There are several actors in there to try to scare you. The goal is to make it to the end without running out. The group that just walked in quickly extricated themselves, running away like their lives depended on it. Some places have prizes at the end. Some don't. We shall enter the house of horror, she said, nodding resolutely. You shall keep me from being scared, and I shall keep you from being scared. We will beat this building. I'm in. Let's go. We both walked to the rather large building that looked normally to be a mansion. So what manner of horrors lie within? She asked. No clue, I replied with a shrug. I've never been to a pony house of horrors. I wouldn't be surprised if it's just a pony in a white sheet jumping out and yelling boo. That would be most disappointing. There was no one at the door, so we just stepped through easily enough. From what little I could see, the place was obviously dark and slightly misty. When we entered, I could hear the hissing of a fog machine, expelling more of its foul product. I snorted softly upon hearing it. This'll be fun. The first scare was a simple jump scare, doing essentially nothing but making the two of us flinch. The clown that jumped out tried its hardest, but he was a clown. Not even a scary clown either. The guy's lips were painted as a smile. We just walked past him, seeing a few props on our trip. Bowls of spaghetti for worms and a few grapes for eyes. Our second jump came from a sheet with a string on it, being thrown down at us from above. Really? Luna asked as it bounced off me and slid back. We shook both our heads and continued onward. The next little area was set up with a few spider webs and shit, but all the spiders were stuffed and looked relatively cute. A few fake snakes sat on the ground as well. Some black and white striped pony jumped out in front of us. "Hooga booga!" he shouted. We both jumped in surprise, but did a little more. "Oh, come on. That gets every pony." "Never break character," I said as we walked past him. He just sighed. The next area had a dentist standing in front of a patient that was strapped down. "Cavities!" the stallion happily yelled, pulling out a drill that looked like a toy and moving it close to the mare's mouth. I almost burst out laughing, but managed to control myself as we walked deeper into the horrible haunted house. The next place had a male mare named Derpy, whose head was on a platter. As normal, both of her eyes were skewed, making it look like she had been in some kind of horrible accident. But of course, she couldn't help but to wear the goofy smile she almost always had on her face, even as we walked by and barely spared her a glance. The next room had two ponies that just groaned brains as they slowly shuffled towards us. They didn't have any makeup or anything on them, so they were completely indistinguishable from any other pony, other than their groans. We easily skirted around them and continued. The final room was a little bit different. In it was a large amount of mirrors, all angled so that it was hard to tell where to go. I fucking hate mirror rooms, I sighed, starting to walk in with one of my hands outstretched. "I never did enjoy mirrors either," Luna commented, joining me in attempting to find a path through the maze. The maze that ended up being a straight line. There were no side paths. Did they even try? Jesus, this is pathetic. When we got through, a smiling stallion was standing there at the end. "So, what did you think, Princess?" he asked. "Your house of horrors was more a house of mild annoyances," she replied. "It was most disappointing." The guy's smile very quickly disappeared. "Really? Everybody else ran screaming." "Every pony else is not an ancient princess," she replied. "Come, Navarone, let us depart." "I have a more fun idea," I said, a plan forming in my mind. "Are you looking for tips to make this place scarier?" I asked the stallion. Uh-oh, human horror in a pony horror house. That is going to be something else. I am excited for the next section. However, what else I'm excited for is to thank my wonderful Patreons. Thank you, Squall, Windfeather, Juan de la Paz, Starlight Blaze, Dreamless Portal, and Rainflicker. My tier 2 Patreons Sword Brethren Mordred, Danish Dash, Nocturne, Solus, RD Bryant, Captain Blue Shadow, HKH4 aka Texture, and the Animated Ghost. And of course the requester of this series, Silent Titan. I appreciate you guys' support so much and it means a ton to me. That aside, however, this has been Firehearth. Have a wonderful day.